Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming platforms.
Analytics company vidIQ has certified Queer News Tonight YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ plus streaming news show. In 2025, our queer stories have reached 11 million streaming views, and Queer News Tonight has been the most watched LGBTQ plus news and lifestyle show in the world this year.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida. We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in the LGBTQ community. There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Monday, September 8th. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show.
Hotspots magazine, happening out, is one of the largest LGBTQ plus non-profit media companies in America, in the same model as PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. We want to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community and want to inform and educate on the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture.
Our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience. Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 11,000 LGBTQ streaming stories. We present South Florida's major LGBTQ events, including Pride Fort Lauderdale, Stonewall Pride, and Pride Fest. Our nonprofit 501c3 magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2025, more than 100 community leaders will host this show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Edward Otto Zielke, an accomplished brand influencer and marketing leader with a dynamic background in financial services and travel marketing. Edward currently serves as the Director of Marketing and Sponsorships for the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida. He also serves on the Gala Chorus's Communications Committee. Edward, Arts Launch Broward is to kick off its cultural season on October 5th. Tell me what's happening out.
Thanks, Alex. Arts Launch Broward will debut on Sunday, October 5th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Broward Center for the Performing Arts. This free community event will officially spark the start of the 2025-2026 cultural season with a lively celebration of local arts and culture. The afternoon will feature live music, dance, and theater performances, along with interactive exhibits and hands-on activities designed for all ages. Guests will preview upcoming shows and classes while meeting local artists, cultural organizations, and community partners. Surprise pop-up performances and family-friendly experiences will add extra excitement throughout the day. This year, the celebration will align with Fort Lauderdale's popular Sunday Jazz Brunch, giving visitors a chance to enjoy smooth jazz along the riverfront before heading inside for an artistic showcase. Admission will be free, welcoming everyone to celebrate the joy of creativity. The Broward Center delivers quality entertainment, educational opportunities, and memorable moments for every community. More information will be available at broward.org/arts. This is a wonderful thing that we're starting. Broward Cultural Division kind of, got the idea in a lot of the nonprofits that are dealing with arts and culture. And they thought this would be a great way to kick off, the season for all of us and get us some great exposure, because really arts and culture within the last couple of years, especially in this state, has really taken a beating in terms of funding and stuff. So this is a great way to see us all for free, get to know what our season is. The Gay Men's Chorus will be there. I'll be there personally telling everybody about our season. So that's going to be really good exposure for all of us.
And and especially in the light of now with foreign visitors dwindling to our state and across the country, and we really need locals to show up and support.
It's so important, especially, if you're here and, you have a passion for the arts, if you like music, if you like local theater, if you like artistry, dance, it's really going to showcase the best of Broward has.
It really makes the community or breaks the community when you really think about it. I look at where Broward is versus other parts of the country, and, we have all the right materials sort of together to make a really amazing art scene, and I've always been hoping that we can get more out of it, so I'm just so glad to see you guys pulling it together.
We need a breakthrough, like a thing that would put us on the map.
Yes, we just got to give more visibility to this, and that's what it's all about.
Perhaps we can get the next Andy Warhol to put his factory down here.
You never
Queer
know.
News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the Arts Launch Broward on October 5th. Let's welcome Dr. Bobby Huen, a world traveler and versatile global affairs expert. Bobby provides an international perspective on current events. A PhD in conflict resolution, Bobby is a certified civil and family mediator and the founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. Bobby, the Outshine LGBTQ Festival brings us another amazing cocktails and cinema event on September 25th. Tell me, what's happening out?
Audiences will soon experience an emotionally charged tale of duty versus desire when Plainclothes screens as part of Outshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival's September Cocktails and Cinema events. Directed by Carmen Emmy, the film follows an undercover police officer tasked with luring and arresting gay men, only to find himself unexpectedly drawn to one of his targets. As the relationship deepens, the officer faces an agonizing choice between professional obligation and forbidden love. Presented in collaboration with Happening Out Television Network, the double screening will captivate will captivate viewers across South Florida. Moviegoers will be able to catch Plainclothes on Tuesday, September 23rd at 7:30 p.m. at O Cinema South Beach, and again on Thursday, September 25th at 7:30 p.m. at Paradigm Cinemas Gateway, Fort Lauderdale. The Outshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival is South Florida's premier queer cultural arts event, originating from the Miami Gay and Lesbian Film Festival and the Fort Lauderdale Gay and Lesbian Film Festival. More details about the movie's screening are available at outshinefilm.com. I have not seen the movie. I haven't even seen the trailer, but it's always good to have places, especially like O Cinema and Gateway. Gateway is very famous here in Fort Lauderdale for screening LGBTQ+ films and themed events such as, I remember they regularly screens Rocky Horror Picture Show with all the, dressing up, the props, etc., etc., etc. So I'm excited to see this event. But on the other hand, I was like, when is the last time we have a film about, authority alluring out gay men in order to arrest them? I'm like, does this take place in the 80s or something?
I was just going to say, it's so great, these stories, because Outshine really kind of looks for those different types of, stories and puts, gets them onto film and shares them with us. And it's so important because those type of stories, those are things that we think about in our communities, somebody in law enforcement, somebody being attracted to one another and stuff. And it's like, how far do you push the boundaries and stuff? That's kind of cool.
All joking aside, they actually did happen recently in Florida, in fact, not here, but somewhere in Panhandle, where the county sheriffs were actually arresting people after luring them to public grinder.
I think about, wasn't just a few years ago, a U.S. senator was entrapped in a sting.
Oh, yeah, that was Minneapolis International Airport.
But what I really love about this, police still entrapped homosexuals in this country, along with black people and every other marginalized group they can. But what's interesting with this particular film, and what I love about the film entire culture we have in South Florida, is we put up a lot of cool, edgy films. This is a very subversive film challenging police authority and questioning, what is the morality for police in this? And that's great. I love this But I remember, we've shown on Queer News Tonight that we've done films about Palestinians and about war and about other groups. And it's just always so amazing to see these different films coming out and really challenging our narratives on what we think is and isn't morality and acceptability.
It's true because, people have different experiences when it comes to law enforcement. Myself, I grew up in a family. My brother's a cop and I have cousins, and I had my late father, my late uncle, all in law enforcement. And, I always respected and have no problem with police. But I do understand that there are people in our community that have not had that experience and, and they're fearful. So, whatever the story is and wherever it is that you can relate, these are things that you do need to, the stories you do need to hear.
Exactly. And also, to be clear, some of it's just even if the nice guy, he's trying to figure out how to navigate the law and doing the right thing, but sometimes the laws are written in ways that really harm people, and this is a great way of challenging all that. Yeah. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the Plainclothes double screening this September.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Alex Morash. Alex has served as the editor-in-chief of Options magazine, media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Alex, Unity on the Bay welcomes us to join their spiritual community for happy hour on September 25th. Tell me what's happening out.
Sure thing, Edward. Unity on the Bay will bring community, music, and joy together at the Happy Hours fundraiser on Thursday, September 25th from 7 to 9 p.m. The lively 2-hour event will take place at Magic 13 Brewery, Miami. Guests will enjoy an evening filled with live performances by Unity on the Bay's music ministry featuring Vittori Verone, Ray Melton, Savannah, also known as Anna Lewowski, Ruth Palmieri, Serena, Jalqueen, Dale Stein, and George Tandy. Attendees will receive 1 beer or select wine cocktail, along with tasty little bits to fuel the fun. Reserved tables will also be available for groups. This tax-deductible event will not only serve up music, mingling, and mouth-watering sips, but also support Unity on the Bay's vibrant spiritual community. Additional food will be available for purchase at the brewery, and Unity on the Bay is a safe place where you can belong and grow. More details about the event are available at unityonthebay.org. This always sounds like a nice event when I hear about these different events we're doing in the community, especially when they have 2 things that I think most events should have: food and booze. So the fact that I see it at an hour before my bedtime, I'm automatically loving it.
Well, we can go down there if you want. It's kind of schlep and a half go to Miami these days. But it's not because the Unity on the Bay, it's because of I-95.
Oh, yes. That's a whole other story.
I hear a lot about Unity on the Bay. In fact, Faye Watt is usually speaking at their Sunday worships. And, this is such a great way to, take something like a religion or a spiritual experience and just, reinvent it in a way to get more people to just kind of learn about it.
It's nice to find places, for example, Sunshine Cathedral, which is where we're located right now, and Unity on the Bay, and UCC over in Fort Lauderdale, where there are non-judgmental and welcoming and affirming religious institutions. I'm not particularly religious myself, but I appreciate the fact that they are there to support those who
I'm the same way with you. I certainly am not someone who's religious, but I respect it, and I know people need that type of congregation and that gathering. So I'm hats off to them for doing that.
Exactly.
And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the Happy Hours, the magic of music and mingling on September 25th.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up South Florida. Miami's gay scene continues to shrink as 2 more queer clubs announce their closing. Miami's queer nightlife took another hit as 2 beloved LGBTQ venues announced their closures: Willie's Neighborhood Bar and Gramps, both in Wynwood. Willie's, which first opened in April of 2024, shut its doors on Saturday, August 23rd. In an Instagram post, the bar stated, quote, "While the landscape around us is being reshaped, one thing that will never change is the community we've built together," end quote. Though plagued by earlier closures and reopenings, Willie's had become a cherished space for Miami's queer community. Known for flamboyant-themed parties, from Night of 1,000 Madonnas to RuPaul Drag Race watch nights, It even won Best Gay Bar in the Miami New Times 2025 Best of Miami issue. Meanwhile, Gramps, a Wynwood institution for 13 years, also announced its end. Owner Adam Gerstein recently posted, quote, "We're leaving on our terms. It's our choice. The time to leave Wynwood has come," end quote. Gramps is more than a bar. It is home to karaoke, drag shows, live bands, and its legendary Rosemary's Baby cocktail. Social media responses to this closure showed a lot of grief. One commenter declared, quote, "The last piece of what made Wynwood special is gone." Another simply wrote, "Rest in peace to Wynwood," end quote. Gramps will remain open until the end of 2025, closing officially in 2026. For Miami's LGBTQ community, the double loss underscored the shrinking number of queer spaces, a trend worsened by soaring rents, an unfavorable political environment, and redevelopment pressures. You know, as my day job, I'm a research director for Restaurant Workers' Rights Group, so I can talk about restaurants all day. And, you know, some people will always ask when you hear a restaurant closing, well, do you think it's this factor or that? And I want to remind people that Florida specifically has had a very good restaurant scene since the pandemic. It's bounced back better than almost any. We actually have 30,000 more jobs than right before the pandemic for the industry here. But at the same time, like, they are getting really hit by a lack of tourists, and like, I cannot overemphasize, the rent is really gonna be killing some restaurants right now.
It's heightened now because of, you know, all the political climate and stuff that we're going through. And, you know, and it's so important now to have these spaces available because, you know, we need community and we need spaces where we can be artistic and, you know, and sing and have fun and be with our friends. And these are historic bars within the Miami area. So, you know, it really is sad to have that.
I mean, Gramps has been an institution for a long time. I mean, I remember when I was a middle-aged gay, not the, you know, retirement gay that I am now. That I used to go
So yesterday.
So I used to go to Wynwood, and, you know, back when Wynwood was just a collection of old warehouses dressed up as art galleries.
Wow.
The gentrification process was massively accelerating the growth. I mean, even compared to when Alex and I went to Wynwood, I think last year.
For my birthday, last July.
And even then, I see all the classic boutiques and places where they offer unique handmade goods were converted all to T-shirt shops and souvenirs. I mean, the steps were very gradual, but it's all there. First, it started with, it was a dangerous neighborhood at night, but you can go for the art galleries during the day. And then safety improved. People are moving in, and then you have the shops and the restaurants, and people are starting to venture out there at night, and, you know, chic nightclubs started to open. And then they started tearing down all the warehouses, which the landlord already owns. The developers just waiting for the area to become hip so they can build things. And now almost all of them have been built, and the galleries have long fled the scene. There hasn't been a big gallery thing in Wynwood for a long time. And every weekend it's just packed with kids just trying to find a party. I'm sorry, Wynwood has been dead. In Wynwood, I'll call it, Wynwood has been dead since before the pandemic. But I am sad, but also the fact that I feel like Miami in particular is rewinding the clock on progressivism. I think Miami over time has become less and less gay friendly. It was paradise back in the day when, like, Miami was home to Versace and models and, you know, all those fun things.
Right.
And then gentrification happened to South Beach, and now mainland Miami as well. And just like before, when we were all fled to Fort Lauderdale, now the remnants of it is just basically shutting down and moving away, especially given the current climate where Miami is becoming more and more conservative thanks to certain other factors too.
I do think it's more than political climate. Like, I'm not shocked that, like, I don't know the story with Gramps, but when I hear a restaurant say they're leaving, but they're not closing for X amount of time, sounds to me like maybe the landlord had a rent negotiation and the business owner was like, this doesn't make sense to me. Why would I stay here and pay that price?
I know the site of Grams. It is ripe for converting. I mean, look at every building around it. It's already now bright, shiny, and new. They're selling like
this is why
$250,000 condos for like a studio.
Yeah, and this is why it's really important that we're supporting our local businesses, and that's why if you're in that area or if you're sad that there's a business that's not doing well, we need to like step up and go into the bars or go into these shops, because that's why they're there. I mean, you're seeing it even here in Broward County too. Wilton Drive is very lucrative with all of the restaurants and shops, but as we know, 1 year they open up and another year they close, and you have to go in and you have to experience it.
That's also a normal part of many restaurant owners' strategies. Sometimes they'll own more than one restaurant, and they'll have a few, and like what's fashionable this week, they'll do it for a year or two, then they're like, all right, well, I can use my liquor license perhaps, depending on the state, move it down the street, call it something new, and that's great, and a lot of the people will move around with that.
More about the mom and pop businesses as like, the first ones that are getting up, and stuff. So yeah, I mean, there are some people that are in that for that money.
As someone who deals with a lot of restaurants, you'll be surprised by how many people that give off that mom and pop that own, I'm not saying they own 20, I'm saying they own like between 3 to 6 restaurants. But the other thing I see with all this, like when we were talking about like supporting, that's great, but like the Eagle here, they wanted to change their patio in Wilton Manors. And the landlord said, sure, but I want to triple your rent. And he said, never mind. Doesn't matter how much you and I want to support that. We could spend a ton of money to justify the cost of a triple rent. I don't know, maybe you want to spend 10 grand a month at Eagle, but I don't think most people can afford that. Like there's only so much we can do. It's really what are these landlords doing for our community?
The reservations. I mean, what they're renovating in their stuff in the space, because they have a very big open space in the back. So I don't know what the 10,000.
I know
quite a lot.
I think part of it is because also that Florida is so poorly regulated, especially like you can have real estate to sit empty for years, decades at the and you can do nothing about it. And there should be rules that says that if your property is vacant for X amount of time, then you need to put in tenant.
There are municipalities, I don't think it's in Florida, they are looking into if you let a commercial space sit fallow for too long, that you'll start getting fined, because when you allow spaces to be empty, it does create a whole host of issues.
It's a cascading event. It's a cascading effect, because when one big box becomes vacant, all the other smaller stores leave, and then you have dead strip malls. That's how dead strip malls happen. But I was going to say that in my experience during the pandemic as an Uber driver, and a lot of people who LGBT people come flying to Miami, they're all excited to see the gay scene, except that they get very disappointed when
it's flown into FLL, not Miami.
So just a public service announcement: if you want a vibrant LGBTQ scene, don't go to Wynwood. There's Wilton Manors, there's Fort Lauderdale. Come here, patronize our local establishment. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And to once again quote a commentator, rest in peace, Wynwood.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ plus story for today. I'm Edward Otto Zielke, and let's queer up drag culture. RuPaul all aboard for a Bonkers drag race movie. Viewers, get ready, because Mama Ru is taking Drag Race from the runway to the silver screen. RuPaul has confirmed he will star in and co-produce the very first Drag Race-related feature film and action comedy directed by out filmmaker Adam Shankman, known for Hairspray and Disenchanted. The project will be produced by World of Wonder, with Bleecker Street distributing across North America. According to the official synopsis, the film will follow Tess and Dee Dee, trained stewardesses who trade their dreary shifts on the stank rail for the glitzy Glamazonian Express. When a catastrophic storm Gonza threatens to derail the high-speed train and crash it into Los Angeles, the duo and coach must join forces with the snobby first-class attendants and President Gagwell, RuPaul, to save the day in this wild ride of camp and comedy. Director Adam Shankman, who has been a guest judge on Drag Race, said, quote, "I've been friends with RuPaul for 30 years, and in that time, I've watched him and the folks at World of Wonder help change culture writ large with Drag Race. When they asked me to come aboard this hilarious and truly unhinged project in a time so desperate for escapist entertainment and laughter, I couldn't resist," end quote. World of Wonder co-founders Fenton Bailey and Randy Barbado promised the audience's full chaos, declaring, quote, "Drag queens in charge of America's first ever hyperspeed transcontinental non-denominational bullet train? What could possibly go wrong? What the world needs now is a disaster movie so twisted it will blow your mind. We are delighted to welcome Bleecker Street and everyone aboard the most bonkers train in cinematic history," end quote. Filming begins in Los Angeles later this year with a U.S. release planned for 2026. Looks like Ru is ready to sashay into movie history. Good for Ru. You know, I'm happy to see that this franchise is doing so well. You know, I saw Drag Race from the beginning. I've been a fan of it ever since. And, you know, the way that, you know, this platform has spurred out into music and movies and other books and everything. And it's really launched so many different careers and stuff that just to take like another step into the cinematic world, because let's be honest, you know, the last movie that I think Ru was in was the AJ and the Queen.
No, the TV show, but it was a cute little TV show.
It was cute, but, you know, it didn't get a lot of great feedback in terms of, you know, the storylines and stuff. So I'm hoping that this will be fun. It'll be campy. It'll be a lot of fun. And you know, with World of Wonder there and Adam Shankman, you know, for writing Hairspray and stuff, it's just going to be a lot of fun.
I hope that it will be like a lot more like Airplane. Remember those old Airplane
I
movies?
do.
Like the puns, you know, the kind of like crazy out of pocket things that are happening all over the thing. And you have a moving vehicle, you have a bunch of drag queens, you have unruly passengers. I mean, that's basically a great like recipe for just basically ridiculous comedic disasters.
Almost like a Snatch Game episode where everybody's sitting in the plane and ad-libbing.
Improv.
Yes.
To be honest, like hearing the concept, I do feel like this will either be one of the best things I've seen in a while or like the absolute worst. But also, like, you know, I'll be honest with RuPaul and Drag Race, it's getting a little boring and underwhelming. Like, I compare it now because of Dragula is on so much, and I rewatched all Drag. They do so much more interesting. I'd way more want to see the Boulet brothers do a movie, because I know that whatever happens, it's going to be hilarious and gory all at once, and the prosthetics will be crazy. So it'll be interesting what RuPaul does with this, but like, she has to have a little bit to prove in this movie than I think people realize.
And I think that like Ru would do well to like inject a little bit more. I know that she always avoided talk about politics in her shows, but like commentary about the signs of the times that are facing our community would be would make the movie much more relevant than just
that's a huge criticism of RuPaul. Like, she makes a lot of money off of drag in our community. I don't see her protesting on our behalf. Maybe I've just missed it, but like, yesterday, I don't see it.
You know, last night there's Video Music Awards on MTV, which I haven't watched in 20 years because I'm an old person, but apparently Sabrina Carpenter brought out a whole troop of drag queens and trans person with banners and protests and everything on stage. If a straight woman can do that, why can't RuPaul?
I know. And you know, that was an amazing awards show. What I thought was the best about that awards show was Lady Gaga went to accept an award, and then she said, "I'm so sorry, VMAs, I have to go because I have a sold-out concert at Madison Square Garden." Mic drop, girls. RuPaul, I hope she can do that.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Bobby Huen, and let's queer up lesbians and queer women. Palm Springs lost White Party, and now the Dinah. What does that mean for big LGBTQ events? Palm Springs is bracing for the end of an era. From September 24th to 28th, the Desert City will host the final edition of the Dinah, the legendary Club Skirts Dinah Shore weekend that has defined queer women's culture for more than 3 decades. What began in 1991 as a one-night party organized by Mariah Hansen during the Dinah Shore LPGA tournament has become a 5-day celebration of joy, liberation, and community. Thousands of LGBTQ women, non-binary, and trans people have flocked to Palm Springs each year for pool parties, concerts, and connection. Hansen explained, quote, "The Dinah was always about creating a space where our community could live out loud, all while setting the stage for us to transcend isms," end quote. This year's program will feature L Word stars Kate Moning and and Leisha Haley alongside DJs, comedians, and performers. Yet for Henson, who is stepping down after 34 years, it's more than entertainment. Henson said, quote, "This last edition isn't just an event. It's an accumulation of spectacular years of joy, liberation, visibility, and love," end quote. The Dinah's legacy stretches far beyond Palm Springs, from launching sapphic artists to modeling intentional inclusivity. It has shaped queer spaces worldwide. As Henson takes a final bow, the question remains, what comes next for large-scale queer events in America? Well, I just want to clarify this. White Party is not going away, at least technically not, because they're just pausing it for 1 year. They're promising that they might come back to in 2026 while they, quote unquote, reevaluate what can be done to them.
Very reassuring to hear.
Yes, well, I mean, on the other hand, the Dinah, like, I never know about the Dinah because I'm a gay man and that's not my space. But I remember that, remember Here TV? Like, there was the queer HBO or something. And so I remember that they used to show at late night was just non-stop reel of Dinah, like people like running around during in Dinah events. I'm like, why all this lesbian on my TV again? And but you know, that's how I learned about it. And I don't think queer events are going away. In fact, I think that they will probably grow because we are under attack now. And we need to gather, we need to show solidarity, we need to show that our community is not afraid to face down face down dictatorship and, you know, authoritarian rule.
I hear you, Bobby, but like this particular event, I don't think what's going on with this event necessarily is 100% representative of the community as a whole. That being said, you know, hearing that, you know, it started as one night and went up to 5 nights, became way bigger. Fran Lebowitz had an old quote I like of hers, which is, when something gets big, it gets worse. And like for them, you know, when you make something from a small event to this big 5-night big thing, it definitely wears on the people that run it. And so I'm not shocked to hear them getting ready to leave and seeing someone pass the torch. But like the bigger and more complex the event, the harder it is to find someone to grab the torch.
It's very true. And, you know, it's sad because, you know, women, especially queer women and lesbians, are always looking for events, you know, like the Dinah, you know, to be a part of. And, you know, I hate to see things like that end for them. We're doing really well here in Broward County, especially in Wilton Manors. We just had, like a couple months ago, I had a women's week and stuff. And we're really, in our community here, really trying to heighten the L group, you know, within our community. And you're seeing more different events coming from them. So I'm hoping that maybe Palm Springs will take a lesson from this in terms of like maybe there's a different way to, you know, do different things for women. But I just don't know exactly what.
It's hard because, you know, I also look at this and White Party, and sure, it says it's only a pause. Like, how many establishments in this town do we know say they're taking a pause and then they never reopen again? You know, like, but I see all that, and I do worry, and I look at like the bars and establishments in our community we just reported on in Miami that are closing, and I think, you know, is this a sign of something bigger? It might not be, but at the same time, like, I see, you know, corporations aren't giving to prides anymore. There's a lot of struggles in our community, but like, we have also commoditized ourselves in rainbow capitalism in a way that, like, you can't do forever. We can't do every party be a 6-day party, every event be gigantic.
True.
It would be nice to see us maybe occasionally try to say, like, it's okay to do something simple and queer.
You can't keep looking in the same well. And you can't keep going to the same people for the money and the sponsor stuff. You've got to reinvent yourself, and you got to keep looking for where you can get it the next year and stuff, because that's what we've had to do within our organization.
I mean, as someone who studied marketing, I think that Dinah has a lot of brand equity, so I don't think that should be squandered. Hopefully someone would pick up the torch and run with it.
Bring it here.
You should go look into doing this. That's what I say.
In California, why would they move to the deep red hellhole?
Because we need it. We need more visibility here. We got to fight.
But they have a dry heat, which is just so wonderful if you've never been.
Yes, I love dry heat.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I am Bobby Huen, and let's queer up trans rights. Caitlyn Jenner links trans issues to school shootings in Fox News Rant. Caitlyn Jenner is once again stirring controversy, this time over comments about a deadly school shooting in Minneapolis. The former Olympic athlete and reality TV star, now a Fox News contributor, appeared on Trace Gallagher's show to discuss the shooting at Annunciation Catholic School that left 2 children dead, 17 injured, and the suspect dead by suicide. Court records revealed that the shooter, 22-year-old Robin Westman, had legally changed their name as a teen to reflect a female identity. Media outlets identified Westman as transgender, although a journal later revealed their struggles with being trans, expressing regret and confusion about their gender. Jenner, however, dismissed that narrative. She insisted, quote, "This guy was not a trans person. This was a sick individual," end quote, calling Westman a product of the DEI. She also blamed what she called gender ideology for harming youth, arguing, quote, "The solution is let's not talk about it," end quote. Critics note that neither Jenner nor Gallagher discussed Westman's fixation on mass shooters, extremist slurs found on their weapons, and their political leanings. Instead, Jenner's remarks focused on her ongoing campaign to restrict transgender participation in sports. For many in the LGBTQ community, her comments highlight the dangers of scapegoating trans people instead of addressing the real roots of gun violence. And I would say it's surprising, but my jaw is firmly held in place. I mean, she has been using her own community as scapegoats for a long while now, and of course, over on Twitter, which I would never call it by the new name, the dozens and dozens of conservative commentators are already already trying to pin this. All trans people are now dangerous because there are officially two trans school shooters versus I don't know how many straight white male who are school shooters over the years, but we have 2 trans shooters, and now suddenly the White House has declared that trans people are not allowed to have guns. They're going to take all the guns away from trans people because trans people are quote unquote severely mentally ill. Which made us strange bedfellows with the National Rifle Association, the notoriously conservative NRA, which is now arguing that you cannot take away the guns from trans people. Never mind all the other underlying obviously mental health related symptoms from the courting extremism, obsession with school shooters. I mean, but it's just trans, and media has always sometimes media, especially conservative media, always go for the easiest solution, especially if they find something that they can blame them on.
And Bobby, I'm glad that you brought up like the paranoia, the mental health issues, the obsession with gun violence and attacking trans people that people that have been brainwashed by the right, like Caitlyn Jenner, are under. You know, like it's bizarre her obsession with attacking trans kids in this way. But like on the issue of school shootings themselves, you know, feel like the right's like, oh well, these 2 might be trans, you know, or these other shooter they allege is trans. Like it doesn't make me change my positions or think more or less of the trans community. Like Pulse was committed by someone from a Muslim. I didn't change my views on Muslims after seeing that. I was like, it's still one of the most peaceful religions, especially more peaceful than the religion that this country is dominated by. So like the idea that we would attack trans kids over this, I think is shocking, especially because like no one seems to be talking about like most trans kids do experience mental health strife, and the worst thing they do is they might become suicidal. They don't go out and shoot anyone, which is quite frankly a shocking act of empathy considering the way that communities treat them.
I mean, honestly, they are the ultimate group that are bullied right now. They're bullied by politicians.
But they're more than just bullied. They are targeted in our community.
Yeah. They're targeted. Hell, even within our own community. Sometimes I find my fellow LGBT persons are not nice to the trans community themselves.
Yeah.
You know, that we sort ourselves out. We say no, we would date no trans people, or, we exclude trans people from certain spaces.
Pete Buttigieg, the guy, most likely is gay man to be president in my lifetime, doesn't want to just go out there and support kids being able to play sports. It just throws trans kids under the bus. Like, think about that.
So
That's what
yeah,
these
the
kids are
news-
dealing with every day. Oh, don't even get me on Gavin. He doesn't count. He's not even anywhere near the real Democratic Party.
Yeah,
My
the
God.
point is that we have a lot of work to do, not just within our own community, because, I guess, everybody's going to have a scapegoat. And obviously Fox News just grabbed Caitlyn Jenner while they could, just so they can get a warped point of view on this, this subject. And we're all right. It's not about trans or who you are or what color skin you are. It's a mental condition. We know that.
And let's not talk about it. You're not talking about what would prevent, does not prevent trans people from harming themselves or having issues. In fact, it will exacerbate it.
Yeah.
The idea that we must not talk about trans issues in front of our children until they are above like 18 or something.
Yeah. And Edward makes a good point. Watching Fox News does create a mental health condition.
Yes, it
but
does.
In all seriousness, as someone who used to have to watch Fox News for media, they do have a strategy of getting the every marginalized group, of finding one voice of each group to be the betrayer token, to go against them. The Exhibit A is, I always say, it's Charles Payne. He will always go after black people of low income and attack them and say that we don't need any government benefits. I'm not shocked that they had Caitlyn Jenner on to attack trans people. I'm sure they have some gay men on there that attack gay men.
In sports, no less. In sports, no less.
Exactly.
The irony of a former Olympic athlete now criticizing.
Wild.
Yeah.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up entertainment. Breathing While Black and Trans launches in Miami, uplifting voices and stories. Miami is preparing for a groundbreaking cultural moment. On Saturday, September 20th, the McKinsey Project Incorporated will host the launch of Breathing While Black and Trans, a powerful 4-part docuseries amplifying the voices of Black, transgender individuals in South Florida. The event takes place at the Overtown Performing Arts Center with festivities running from 4 to 10 p.m. Guests will walk the red carpet at 6 p.m., enjoy a cocktail hour at 7, and then gather for the premiere showcase at 8. Attendees are encouraged to come dressed to impress in any shade of purple, a symbol of pride, resilience, and unity. The series dives deep into real stories of survival, healing, and strength, spotlighting the lived experiences of Black trans individuals navigating survival, sex work, homelessness, and systematic barriers in Miami.
I knew a girl that was coming out, and she started this when she was 14. And I also knew another girl who's my friend still to this day. She ended up, when I met her, she had started to transition. She was 15 when she started coming out. So I would have to say 14.
Because the key word in that question is vulnerable. We are in such a vulnerable, fragile state that we will fall for anything for refuge. At least me.
Homelessness amongst transgender individuals in Miami. A 2024 report indicates that approximately 1/3 of LGBTQ youth in Miami-Dade County experience homelessness or housing instability, with transgender youth being disproportionately affected.
When you're staying in a hotel, you got a hotel to pay every night. Probably ain't got no kitchen, so you got to buy out, throughout the day. You can't really afford hormones. Probably if you can get up from being, hustling all night, if you can get up for an appointment. I remember my family started calling me the vampire. I only came out at night. It was when the sun going down, 5 in the evening, 6 in the evening.
I've been homeless many times in my journey, but this last particular time, through my transition, I became homeless after getting problems with paying my rent.
Time of my homelessness, to be 100% honest, there were none. And the ones that they say they were offering
when you would go to the county side, when you would go to the city building, and you would apply for these resources, you would say, hey, my light bill is due. Hey, I heard you guys up. Once they would see the ID and the name and things didn't match, because my name was not changed at this time. Like I said, it was the beginning of my transition. So once they would see the ID and the name, it was I'll call you back. It was I will let you know. And you never got that call. So to me, there were no resources. Even if they were saying they were providing a certain resource, I was not one of the people who were afforded those resources.
Organizers emphasize that breathing while Black and trans is not only about visibility, but about building community and inspiring change. You can find more details at themackenzieproject.org. This is one of the stories that I'm so proud of us doing, and I'm so glad to see this docuseries coming, because it really highlights stories that we don't often talk about or see, not just being Black and trans, but also being Black and trans and dealing with the income inequality that many deal with and the struggles. And it's a reminder, to get on my soapbox for a second of when we talk about things like, rent and housing and healthcare, they're all actually queer issues and trans issues and Black issues, and how we are seeing a lot of suffering in our country, especially for marginalized groups, and stories like this are finally springing to light.
We're still seeing it because, I remember things like Paris is Burning and those type of stories, and there was one that they just recently came out with, but I feel like it's been the same type of story, and it's going from generation to generation to generation, and it's where is it that how far have we come? And it's nice to see that, but we still have so much more to go.
And more to the point, I feel like that, especially right now, when you think about the current political climate with people scapegoating LGBTQ people, especially trans people, for a variety of social ills, blaming, quote unquote, the BS term of gender ideology. This is essentially a smokescreen to distract you from the fact that tariffs are rising, your cost of living is improbable, your cost of rent is unsustainable, you are not getting, you're not getting wages that are supposed to be living wage. These, when the powers that be wants to point to you to another scapegoat social minority group, look, they are the ones that have causing you problems.
It's not just scapegoat. It's these lived experiences are very specific to what's going on to Black trans women and men in Miami. And I think that's something that's very important with these stories. And what makes it both emotionally vying, but also its own form of beauty of seeing so many people that are in our community and they're here and we can be part of that with them.
And support them too. The Mackenzie Project is one of the best nonprofits down in Miami helping this, this cause. And, we've partnered with them in the past too, and when we lift each other up, it's really important.
Exactly. Those are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. These anchors represent the best of the LGBTQ community.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ+ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Our Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Alex Morash, and on behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Otto Zielke and Bobby Huen, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ world, we hope you will join us by embracing love, generosity, bravery, be transformative, and queer. Good night.